Mm. Hello, everybody. Let's come back this broadcast, this streaming. Honestly, I'm so happy to be here again with you because, you know, speak about immigration is something that honestly I'm enjoying. Always trying to do the best, share with you update information about these matters because Mexican migration. It's not easy, but it's not difficult. Only you need to understand what is the way, which step you need to follow, and the most important, handle the bureaucracy. Yes. Sorry, I don't know. Well, I'm nervous because it's this. It is normal because I use a foreign language that is not my main language. But well, I'm gonna try to do the best, share with you this topic because this topic is very important and many residents overestimate this process because sometimes they they didn't know that renew your immigration status is an obligation for you. More, you keep in mind to stay for longer time here in my country, in Mexico, because maybe Mexico is the best place for you, is your home, is something that honestly Mexico has something that maybe in your country you didn't find. And well, maybe I told you any residencies overestimates because it's something that sometimes your immigration facilitator or maybe your immigration lawyer didn't say you because maybe or maybe they do, and you didn't pay attention because you are excited, you are completely excited because you got your residency, your temporary residency, and the most important here is enjoy that moment here in Mexico. Okay, but what is the point here? When you overestimate this process, happens something that honestly, if you fall in that circumstance, it's completely sad for you because try to visualize this circumstance. For example, try to get an appointment on Mexican consulate. It is not easy, honestly. It is not easy. You need to catch in different days, in different months, trying to send a lot emails or maybe call them and try to find different alternatives to contact with that Mexican consulate. Okay, maybe you registering a lot in that Mexican consulate in their official website. They block your account in that Mexican consulate. It was so difficult for you in that moment when you wasn't a residency. Yes, but right now you do. You have that immigration status. You have something that maybe another nationalities, another foreigners decided get it. Why? Because maybe they don't follow in certain categories that maybe you complete. Maybe you fill up in that category. But maybe they didn't do. They don't fit in those categories. They were rejected on Mexican consulate between another scenarios, okay? But in your case, it is completely different because you have that immigration status. You are a resident, you are temporary residency. You have something that is very necessary for you, care, update, and the most important, always you have that intention to stay for longer time, becomes maybe permanent here in my country. Yes, it's important for you care your temporary residency. If you have that goal in get Mexican citizenship, it's important for you care your temporary residency. Okay. However, I bring this topic because it is necessary for me to explain why it's important. Always keep in mind, renew your temporary residency when you are almost in that timeline or timeline of your residency that you need to renew. Yes, because any temporary residency have date expiration. Yes, and you need to respect that date expiration. Unfortunately, many residents renew that temporary residency when they fall in regularization. Yes, when that temporary residency, the resident card, it is expired, and you start to renew it back in regularization. Unfortunately, in regularization, fall in the hand on INM. Yes, in National Immigration Institute, or Instituto Nacional de Migración. You fall in their hand, and depend your category, they have that decision to renew your resident card or not. Yes, because regularization is the last opportunity to keep your immigration status here in my country as a residency. Yes, and regularization is something that you need to be serious when you fall in that circumstance. And unfortunately, many residents, when they trying to renew the temporary residency, they start and do it when they fall in that line. However, it's important for me bring this topic for you. And let me share my screen. This is my topic, renewing your temporary residency. I told you in the beginning, any resident card have a date expiration. That timeline that you need to respect, that you have that obligation to renew your temporary residency. It's important for you to understand that renew your residency card is physical. You need to walk in on INM, you need to make an appointment, and you need to bring certain documents as a new resident. Because when you got your resident card, maybe you remember that you need to gather certain documents. Okay? It's the same when you renew that, you need to fall again in that bureaucracy process. You need to bring certain documents. You need to prove that category when you apply for get your residency. Well, between another circumstance, yes. Um, renew your residency card when you are temporary is not automatically because you need to pay again and you need to do all those kinds of duties that I said you before. Very well. It was important for me to explain with you this topic. Let's do it. Before enter in this topic, I'm gonna share with you three common mistakes that always many residents fall. The first is you can't renew out of Mexico. You need to understand that when you are in temporary residency here in my country, completely different when you have a residency in US, for example, you have that right to live and enter in my country as much as possible. You have that right. I understand in the US immigration, you are not able to do that because when you do that, that country, US immigration, have that faculty to stop your residency in that country. Yes, here in Mexico is completely different because you have that right to live and enter in my country as temporary residency or permanent residency. For example, listen up. You got your residency by 1 year, okay? Maybe you are out to my country for 9 months. Out to my country, 9 months, okay? And you comes in the last months when you need to renew your resident card, okay? That circumstance is not a problem for you. You are able to renew that because I told you, you have that right to enter and live and enter in my country. Yes, but the problem here is you are not able to renew your immigration status, that resident card, temporary resident card, out of Mexico. You are not able to do that in that Mexican consulate. The only circumstance that you have that faculty or capability to renew your resident card is here in Mexico, inside in Mexico. In that INM, National Immigration Institute, where you got your resident card. Okay? You need to understand that. Second, the second mistake I told you in the beginner. Unfortunately, many foreigners, when they are aware for renew the temporary residency, they are aware 10 days ago, maybe 20 days after, when that resident card it was expired. Unfortunately, they fall in regularization. But honestly, if you fall in that circumstance, it's not a good deal for you because I'm going to explain with you more later why it's not a good deal for you fall in regularization more if you fall in certain categories. Okay? But well, that is the second mistake. The last one mistake is because you can renew whatever you want. For example, you got your resident card as a temporary residency here in Merida, Yucatan. But when you come to Mexico, you notice that your resident card is expired and you decide to renew your resident card maybe in Mexico City or Puerto Vallarta or maybe Guadalajara because you have friends in those cities and before comes to Merida, you decide to take advantage in that city and renew your resident card. Unfortunately, you are not able to do that. Not because it's not possible. It is possible to do that, but you need to understand the before renew your resident card in that city, you need to change or you need to notify your other change. Yes, you need to notify to INM that right now you are living in that city. Yes, but he only you are in that city for many days, for certain days or 1 week or 2 weeks. Honestly, it's not a good deal for you because you need to prove that you're living there with how to say bill. I don't know how to say that. I don't remember. Let me. It's un recibo de luz, maybe electricity bill, for example. You need to prove with that document. And another circumstance is you need to make an appointment. And in addition, those processes are completely different. You are not able to do do those procedures in the same time. They are completely different. Before you renew your resident card in that new city, you need to notify your other chains. And when you do it, you need to do another appointment and request you renew in that resident card. Okay? Maybe it's very laborious, maybe it's very stressful, bureaucracy, but you need to understand that many foreigners fall in that mistake. You don't fall in that stressful moment. It's better for you renew your resident card where you live, in your home, in that city home. Yes, if you got your residency card here in Merida and you living here in Merida, renew your resident card here in Merida, not in Mexico City, not in Guadalajara, not in Puebla, because they are not your home cities. And you need to do that notification and you need to make an appointment. And sometimes here in Merida, make an appointment is difficult. Imagine in those cities. Mexico City is a cosmopolitan city. Guadalajara too. Puebla too. Many foreigners make an appointment as you. Imagine that stressful moment. However, it's important for you be careful. You need to anticipate. Maybe is the correct word. I think so. And you need to take advantage, renew your residency before fall in expiration. Yes. Very well. In this topic, I'm going to explain with you these subtopics. For example, when to start your renew process, the 3 years by 1 year, renewal options, how to ensure your years count, told, permanent status, and the last one, what happens if you let your card expire? Okay, maybe are interesting subtopics for you. I'm gonna do the best explain with you in this language because maybe you notice that English is not my best language, but I'm trying to do the best because this language is very important for me. It's useful for me. I love this language, and well, honestly, always I said that when someone is interested in something, no matter what, how many times need to read that information or listen that information or pay attention in that information, they will try to understand that matters. Yes, very well. Guys, let's start it. Hmm, The first topic is when to start your renewal process. I told you in the beginning, any temporary residency have a date of expiration. And always when you got that resident card as in temporary residency, you need to know this that date of expiration. Why? Because it is an obligation for you to renew this resident card as much as possible for you if you decide to stay for longer time here in Mexico. Okay? In this circumstance, when the date of expiration is approaching, you need to renew that. Yes? For example, this person, in this example, John Thomas, he need to renew, he needs to renew his residency this year in November 14, 2026. Yes, the recommendation for him is renew this resident card 30 days before fall in this date of expiration. Yes. 30 days before. Why? Because according the article 156, the regulation migration law, paragraph 3, say this content. The holder of this card may, within the 30 calendar days prior to its expiration, apply for the corresponding renewals until completely 4 years, counted from the date they obtained the immigration status. Do you understand that? Guys, my biggest recommendation for you is trying to renew your resident card 30 calendar days before your immigration will expire. Because the law allows you to do it. You will trip to other country and almost your resident card it will expire. My recommendation for you is before trip, it's better for you renew your resident card. Why? Because it's your obligation. Because you don't desire for irregularization. Yes, I'm going to explain you more later. And honestly, it's my biggest recommendation for you. Okay, another point, another topic. The 3 years versus 1 year renew options. Following the same, law, regulation of migration law, paragraph number 1 say the card that proves temporary residency or resident status might be valid for 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. Content from the date the foreign national obtained authorization of that immigration status. In the beginner, when you are new, got your temporary residency, automatically you have 1 year, always. Any Mexican consulate, and when you come here in Mexico, they give you 1 year. And when almost is finished 1 year, you need to renew, and always any immigration facilitator or immigration lawyer recommend you renew to 3 years your resident card. Why? Because when you complete 1 year and 3 years, you fall in 4 years and you are able to renew to permanent residency. That is the biggest right for you. The problem here is when you forget it, when you don't care your temporary residency, when you don't renew that immigration status, maybe you will lose those options. Get permanent residency, or maybe get a Mexican citizenship. Okay? Very well. I told you, temporary residency you are able to renew in those years until complete 4 years. And when you complete 4 years, you are able to be permanent residency. Okay? But not always work like this because certain categories, guys, doesn't allow you renew to 3 years in easy way. Why? Because you have that condition with someone you rely on in someone, in a Mexican company, or maybe an education company. Okay? I'm going to explain with you that. Those conditions, okay, you are able to renew when you 1 year is almost expired. You are able to renew 2 years ago. 3 years, sorry. The problem here is when you are in those categories, you got your temporary residency by offer job, or you got your temporary residency by offer student. You depend or you rely on in those circumstances. For example, in the Mexican company, sometimes certain Mexican companies for care in themselves, always you depend, you rely on them. Yes, you are not able to renew for yourself your temporary residency until that Mexican company give you a statement that they allow you to renew your temporary residency. Yes, it's mandatory, do it. Completely different when you obtain your temporary residency by financial solvency, you are able for yourself renew your temporary residency. But in offer job, you are not able to do that. Mandatory, you need to bring that letter, that official statement by your Mexican company who they allow you renew your temporary residency. And sometimes that statement, you know, explain that they allow you 1 year more, or maybe 3 years more. I don't know. All depend of them. Yes, and you need to understand that. By temporary residency in offer students is the same because imagine that you are here because any Mexican university gives you that alternative to study here in my country for 1 year or for 2 years. And when you complete those years, your offer student is finished and you need to return again at your country. Yes, you are not able to renew to maybe another year or until 4 years. Okay, because you rely on in them in those institute. Okay, be careful in that circumstance. More later, in another streaming, I'm gonna explain with you about temporary residency by offer job, how you are able to get this temporary residency in this category, and maybe you have someone, an adult child, who unfortunately they can obtain residency for you because you need to understand that Mexico allow you give residency at your family. That process it called family unit, but when your child it is uh, a adult child, unfortunately, those people they they are not able to obtain residency in your behalf. Yes, why? Because the Mexican law explain that. Okay, but maybe they will have that option to get temporary residency, but the circumstance for offer institute offer education here in my country, maybe any university allow your son your daughter study here in my country, or maybe a Mexican company allow your daughter or your son work here, and they got that temporary residency. Yes, but well, I'm going to explain with you more later those categories. The another subtopic is how to ensure your years count towards permanent status. Guys, this is honestly something completely interesting for me because, guys, when you have an immigration status here in my country, for example, temporary residency, when your goal is get permanent residency here in my country, of course, you need to keep in mind that you need to care your years here in my country. I told you in the beginning, when you complete 4 years as a temporary residency, you are able to renew to permanent residency. Yes, you are able to do that because you care your years as a temporary residence. What is the problem here? The problem here is when you have temporary residency by this category that I'm going to explain with you soon, unfortunately, your years here in my country doesn't count. Why? Because Mexican immigration law said that, unfortunately. If you fall in this category, you got your temporary residency in this category, maybe you sponsor got that temporary residency, and for family you need, you got that residency status too. Unfortunately, yours years here in my country doesn't count. I'm going to explain with you that category. Is this one, guys. When you are out of temporary residency by education of. Can you fall in this category? You got your temporary residency in this category for education offer. No matter what, how many years have you have 4 years as a temporary a student here in my country. You are temporary. You bring your family. Maybe you have that thought to renew your residency card to permanent residency because you have that information. But unfortunately, you can't because those years doesn't count. Okay? In another categories, your years count. Financial solvency, job offer, family you need, investor, real estate, your years as a temporary residency count. Yes, count, and they are useful for in the future becomes permanent residency. Yes, unfortunately, in this category, as a student temporary residency, they can't. Okay, keep in mind it. You need to save this information. And if you know someone who is a student temporary residency, trying to share this information, trying to explain him that unfortunately their years here in my country doesn't count in the future. Trying to do it. Mm. What happens if you let your card expire? This is the last one subtopic. Guys, in the beginning, I explained with you why it's not a good deal for in regularization when you let your card expire. Why it it is it is not a good deal. For example, when you fall in regularization, you fall in those four steps. For example, INM, National Migration Institute Mexican, or Instituto Nacional de Migración here in Mexico, your process is more strict. Honestly, immigration staff, they are more strict with you. They are more nuanced with you. They check out in detail this procedure. Why? Because, for example, you got your temporary residency by financial solvency. When you renew your temporary residency in this category 30 days before your resident card it will expire, INM or immigration staff, they don't request proof financial solvency. Yes, but when you fall in regularization and you got your temporary residency in this category, unfortunately, you need to prove again financial solvency. Yes. In addition, if your accounts are in a foreign bank and that bank use a foreign language, you need to translate those bank statements. Yes, you need to do that. And plus of documents which INM requests at you. Yes, when you fall in regularization. Another point, in family you need the same. They check out a lot your documents. You link with that person or with your relatives, relief, well, your family. They check out. Another point is you fall in that INM criteria. Unfortunately, in this category for financial solvency, when they know this, that you are not able to prove financial solvency, INM have that faculty to deny your immigration status as a temporary residency, and they give you a notification that you need to leave to my country. Yes, officially, you need to leave to my country. Do you notice that? Or for example, if you got temporary residency by job offer, and that Mexican company, they didn't give you letter and job letter that in that letter explain that they give you that alternative to renew your resident card. Yes, maybe you don't have that letter. Okay, INM fall in that criteria to deny the temporary residency, and you need to live officially in my country. Yes, another point, you have that letter. Depend the criteria for INM. Sometimes INM goes in that Mexican company and make an interview and review that Mexican company, check out if that company is authentic. As the beginner, when you got job offer. Maybe you didn't know about it, but when you trying to get residency by this category, INM visit those Mexican company for check out if those company exists, are authentic, have you know business address. In addition, they pay taxes and they have official documents. They are registered in that famous Registro de Comercio between another kinds of circumstance. Yes, INN is very um, scrutinized, check out Mexican companies. In this circumstance, might be the same. Check out your letter, check out your Mexican company who they give you that alternative to renew your resident card. But when you fall in regularization, the resolution is very longer in this category, in the another categories too. Yes, yeah, unfortunately, you fall in that INM criteria. What do you mean that? Means that you give your immigration status in their hand. Yes, INM, National Immigration Institute, have that faculty to deny your resident, your status as a resident. Yes, be careful for it. Only in family unit is not easy because INM need to care this right for any foreigners who they have a family here in Mexico. For example, your wife is Mexican, or maybe your husband is Mexican, or maybe you have child, and those child are Mexican. Of course, INM care those circumstances, and they will renew in this regularization your resident card. But if your family are not Mexican, they rely on in you. Their residencies or immigration residencies depend on you. If you are not able to renew your temporary residency, you and your family lose everything. Okay? Be careful. And the last one, guys, is a longer resolution. It's not immediately. Unfortunately, you fall in the criteria for this institute. They decided, of course, they have a limit to give you a resolution. Imagine that maybe you got your temporary residency in the same week, in the same day. I don't know. But in regularization, maybe you need to wait 1 month, 2 months, all depend in that institute when you got your temporary residency. Okay. However, a recommendation for you is trying to avoid fall in regularization. That is the last one opportunity for you to renew your resident card. Well, guys, and honestly, thank you so much for stay here. Honestly, and I hope this information is very useful for you. And you met someone who is resident here in my country and they need to know this information, try to share this streaming at them because it is important for them. There are a lot YouTube channels who they explain about immigration, very general in experience. The difference here is I'm going to explain with you why said the law. Because, for example, those information, I take those information in these books. Yes, in this legislation federal about immigration. All in Spanish. If you know Spanish, and you are here in Mexico trying to find this book, I recommend it with you. But if you are not able to read in Spanish, okay, honestly, my recommendation for you is trying to do it, trying to learn Spanish, trying to understand Spanish, because remember, sometimes it is a good deal for you understand my content, understand this language. And guys, before to go, I'm gonna invite you in this website. This is my website, and guys, sorry if this website is very um, basic. Honestly, I am not expert making websites, but my intention to create this website is because, for example, in this website, I'm gonna share with you important content. For example, in the option the blog, mhm, mm, yes, in the option the blog, I share with you in maybe useful topics that you need to know. For example, Mexican visa consular interview, change of address, and why should you always carry your residency card, and maybe what happens if your residence expired out of Mexico. Why shouldn't you complete your Mexican immigration process outside the law? And why shouldn't residents in Mexico use e-gates at the airports? Between others, and article that I'm gonna share with you in the future. Honestly, you are able to read those articles in those language, French, Spanish, or English. You are able to choose your better language. Yes. Another point is because you can know more about me, uh, why I create this YouTube channel, what is my intention to running this YouTube channel. Well, guys, honestly, I recommend that with you this website. Honestly, I'm trying to do the best making this website. I'm no expert, but honestly, in any content, the same here in my YouTube channel, I do it with the heart because it's important for me keep a new update in Mexican migration, in Mexican culture, and well, in this language, yes, because English is, I love the language. It's not easy for me to use this language more in streaming right now in live, but well, I'm trying to do the best. And guys, don't forget to subscribe in this channel. Please thumbs up the bell and trying to recommend this YouTube channel is very useful for you and you thinking that for another person is useful for them too. Okay? Well, guys, thank you so much. Nos vemos en la próxima. Bye.